learning to love the self. In this day and age, there's a lot of distractions, there's a lot of manipulation. And to scratch the surface of this manipulation, we have obviously the food which we're eating. It's very high, it's very stimulative, and we're constantly being, our baseline energy is constantly being thrown up, and then we come down, and then we ultimately, we don't really like that down base level of existence that we go in when we come up, and then we go down. So we basically try and come up again, and then we come down. And yeah, what's just very important to understand is that when we do come down, we try and we feel that the energy or the emotion which we experience when we're coming down is ultimately negative, or it's the existence which we don't want to feel. But what we have to understand is that when we do come down, that energy, that existence who we are experiencing and feeling is ultimately the truth of what we need to learn in that moment. Because when we're coming down, this is what we need to feel. We need to feel this emotional energy. We need to embrace it, because it's going to teach us something. It's going to ultimately be, it's what a lot of us run away from, because when we're feeling down, when we're feeling this truth of ourselves, we ultimately escape from it, and we distract ourselves from it. We do whatever we do to get away from the feeling of this truth. And hence why in this reality, in this day and age, we have a lot of distractions, whether that be food, technology, drugs, alcohol. There's a lot of stimuli which is designed to break us away from feeling this low dense emotional energy that we feel through our life experience. And in this moment, we just have to come back and ask the question is, like, when we do feel all this emotional distortion within ourselves, what are we doing? Are we getting away from it by, eating high stimuli food? Are we, getting away from it by, drinking alcohol? Are we getting away from it by technology? Because, if we are, we'll find that we're just in a cycle. It's our trigger to do something, to create the escape. And if we do that, we may live a life existence constantly escaping from this frequency, which is trying to tell us something, which is trying to try and give us ultimately the choice to accept something. And it all comes down to acceptance, because when we can acknowledge this energy, this frequency, and we understand there's something here which is not going away, it's propelling me to make actions and choices, but this energy, this frequency it's consistent. When we can stop and come back to and try and understand the essence of this frequency, where's it coming from, why is it existing within my life, we can ultimately recognize and understand and align with what it is which is trying to teach us. Because ultimately, when we can align with this and ultimately accept whatever it is which is triggering this almost escape, because it is ultimately creating this escape almost reaction within our lives. When we feel this emotional energy, it's overwhelming, it's painful, it's whatever you want to call it, it's we have a choice, and that's ultimately where it is we have the choice to either align with it and understand it, accept it, and use it to ultimately allow us to move forward into the acknowledgement of its existence, or we do the opposite, is we let it suppress us and we let it create actions within our lives which ultimately are just creating a loop within our existence. It's the dominating force. It's the force which makes us create actions, and those reactions are most likely generating new actions, which are creating reactions of just a circuit of suppression within our existence. And that's ultimately why, we need to use this life as the gift of choice, is that we have the power to make choices. We have the power to acknowledge why we've gotten here, what we're now doing in this moment to create our choice of life. And with that choice, how are we acknowledging and trying to regain our power to create new choices that are going to free us from our own self, to free us from our suppression, free us from our minds, free us from the distortion within what our lives could be, and ultimately becoming the free expression of possibility. And it all comes down to acceptance. It all comes down to, within this moment, then there always is something to accept. There is always something to acknowledge, and there is always something to be grateful for. And often that sense of acknowledgement and that sense of acceptance is the formula to gratitude. Because when we shift within the acknowledgement, when we shift within the acceptance, we elevate ourselves into this ability to be able to be grateful for something. And that's the trick, is that when we can't accept, when we can't acknowledge and move forward with our choice, we often can't feel the gratitude, because we're stuck in this state of mind which is just unable to access frequencies like gratitude and contentment. And this is ultimately why we need to activate the power of choice and acceptance within our lives, because when we are able to activate the acknowledgement of our choices and acknowledgement of accepting who we are and why we are, we can learn to be grateful.